All right, welcome. Today, we're looking at a huge shift, a real tech revolution happening in some of the toughest workplaces you can imagine. We need to forget about the old clipboards and clunky keyboards for a minute, because we're talking about the power of your own voice to capture exactly what's happening on the ground right when it matters most. Let's dive in.
So just imagine this for a second. An incident happens out on a job site. It's messy, maybe even a little chaotic. Now, what if that report, the single most critical piece of paper, could basically just write itself, right there in the moment? That's the big question we're going to unpack today.
So we set this whole thing up like a head-to-head showdown, a title fight, really. First, we'll look at the old way of doing things, what we're calling the reporting bottleneck. Then, we'll meet the new challenger. And after that, we're going to put them through 3 rounds, a speed test, a battle of truth versus memory, and a look at the bottom line, before we deliver our final verdict.
Okay, so let's set the stage. In this corner, we have the reigning champ, or maybe the aging incumbent, traditional manual reporting. Pen and paper. For decades, this is just how it's been done, but honestly, it comes with some pretty serious baggage.
The reality for folks in the field is just frustrating. We're talking about 1 to 2 hours of paperwork for one incident. People are filling out the same information over and over and over again on different forms. And that's before anyone even tries to transcribe it, which just adds more delays. This isn't just a hassle. It pulls your most skilled people away from the jobs they're actually supposed to be doing. And now, stepping into the ring, here's the challenger, built from the ground up with modern tech, voice-to-text incident reporting. And believe me, this is set to completely upend that old, slow process we just talked about.
So what's the secret sauce here? Well, it's actually pretty simple, but incredibly powerful. Field teams can literally just speak their reports into a device. The tech then instantly grabs their words and, this is the key, turns them into structured, usable data in real time. No pens, no keyboards, just the absolute fastest way to get information from someone's brain into a system, their own voice.
All right, let the showdown begin. Round 1 is all about pure, raw speed. Because in an emergency, or even just on a super busy job site, every single second counts. So the question is simple: who documents faster?
Let's look at the tail of the tape. Your average person can type around 40 words per minute, which, hey, isn't too bad. But modern speech recognition, we're talking 120 words per minute, or even more. Right out of the gate, the difference is just staggering.
And when you see it like this, it really drives the point home, doesn't it? This isn't some small, incremental improvement. This is a massive leap forward in how quickly we can capture information. We're not just tweaking the old system, we are completely changing the game from the very first word.
Now think about what this actually means on the job. Voice-to-text is, at a minimum, 3 times faster. That means a task that used to eat up an hour of your day can now be done in 20 minutes, or less. We are literally turning hours of tedious paperwork into a task that takes just a few minutes.
And the impact on the business? It's huge. A 60% drop in time spent on documentation means your skilled workers are free to do the work you actually hired them to do. That's more time focused on safety, on production, on the real work that actually moves the needle.
Okay, speed is one thing, that's impressive, but what about the quality of the information itself? In round 2, we're putting truth up against memory. Which method is going to give you a more accurate, more detailed picture of what really went down?
The biggest enemy of an accurate report is time. With the old methods, reports often get written at the end of a long, tiring shift, sometimes hours or even days after the event. But with voice, the information gets captured right there, on the spot, as everything is unfolding.
But I know what you're thinking. What about a noisy construction site? You'd think that would be a problem, right? Well, the reality is, this technology is incredibly good now. We're talking 99% accuracy, even with all that background noise. This means you're capturing the raw, unfiltered truth exactly as it was spoken. No more trying to guess what messy handwriting says, and no more relying on a worker's fading memory.
And it gets better because the system is actually smart. It doesn't just listen, it guides the user with a series of questions, almost like a little interview. You can think of it like TurboTax for incident reporting. It'll ask, okay, what happened? And then, who was involved? It makes sure you cover all your bases every single time.
And the result of this guided approach is pretty stunning, actually. You end up with a report that has 40% more relevant detail than you'd ever get from just a standard blank form.
So this changes reporting from being a chore into an active, intelligent data gathering process. You're not just getting a report, you're getting way better data to prevent the next incident.
So we've established it's faster and it's more accurate. But does it actually make financial sense? For round 3, we're following the money. Let's uncover some of the hidden costs of sticking with the old way of doing things.
See, the cost of pen and paper goes way beyond just the supplies. You've got third-party transcription fees, which can run you up to $25 a report, not to mention the delays that come with it. You have administrative staff just shuffling paper all day, and workers logging overtime just to finish reports. It all adds up, and it adds up fast.
By automating this whole workflow, companies are seeing a staggering 75% reduction in the time it takes to process a single report. I mean, when you get rid of all those manual steps, the transcription, the paper handling, the return on your investment isn't some far-off dream. It's something you start to see almost right away. Okay, we've seen all the evidence from all 3 rounds: speed, accuracy, and the bottom line. It's time to tally up the scores and deliver the final verdict in this showdown for the future of field reporting.
And the final scorecard really leaves no room for debate. When it comes to speed, voice wins, taking reporting from hours down to minutes. For accuracy, it's 99% accurate versus being prone to human error. For detail, it captures over 40% more. And for cost, it's a clear ROI versus a huge admin burden. But look at that last one, safety. Honestly, this might be the biggest win of all. Voice reporting is hands-free. In a dangerous environment, that's not just a nice to have. That could literally save a life. It's a clean sweep.
This quote really just sums it all up, doesn't it? The data is so clear, so overwhelming, that it's just not a debate anymore about which method is better. Its superiority is obvious. The real question has completely changed.
And that brings us to our final thought here. If voice technology can so completely and totally dominate the old way of doing things in a task as critical as this one, well, it really makes you wonder, what other core workplace process is next in line for a voice-powered revolution? That's something to think about. Thanks so much for joining us.